Ollie. Hello, kitten. Hello, Augie. Hello, Eddie. Hello and welcome back to Art Therapy with Jen. Today I'm going to be doing a one magazine collage page in my Ideas Art Journal. And if this is your first time tuning into my channel or my one magazine challenges, what I do, I take a single magazine, I flip through it, rip out anything that catches my eye or I think I may use, and then I make a page using images only from that magazine. Now, I usually do it in 3 main steps. I do my background, my focal images or my cast of characters, and then my words. And as you can see, I'm going back through the pages I saved and pulling out anything that I think I could use for a background and reacquainting myself with the magazine. Now, these were images I was able to pull from the pages, but I'm going to be honest with y'all, none of them really spoke to me. So we're switching it up. So you see there, we're going to use the text parts for the background. So I thought this would be neat because this is usually the part of the magazine that gets put in the recycle bin and doesn't get used, and why not? Let's just use them all. So if you're short on magazines or whatever type of media you're using, I think this will work great for book pages or just whatever. Then hey, let's use them. So I found that there was all kinds of different fonts, different spacing with the fonts, different column widths, and I just took those, cut a bunch out of the magazine, and I'm just flipping them every which way, straight edges, some ripped edges, sideways, upside down, and just kind of creating and overlapping them and all that good business. I actually really enjoyed it, and it kind of makes me want to do like a whole book that just has word backgrounds. But just another part of the magazine, like I said, or media that you can use that a lot of times doesn't get used. I kind of want to use like some book pages or something too. I don't know. I mostly do ebooks, so I don't know that I would have any books I could rip up, but who knows? I just loved how it built up, and the more layers I added, the more kind of texture I was getting, and so fun. Another exercise to do, like if you're just not sure how to start a page or not sure what you should do next, just go cut out a bunch of words on those pages that you don't usually use and glue them all down together. And no, we're just going to see where this goes. And since I am voicing this over after I've done the page, I'm just going to tell y'all this page is going to be a little bit of a wild ride. There's going to be some pivots going on. We started with using the word parts here, so it's not what I intended, but the images that I pulled from the magazine for the background that were more like landscape and texture images, like I said, they just didn't speak to me. They were fine. I put them in my image stash, but they didn't really flow together, and they just didn't speak to me for this page. I go a lot off like feelings and just intuition and stuff, and it just wasn't happening. And I'm kind of glad because I really liked using these words. And it really built up a solid background, like when I was done layering them and everything, because we're going to need a pretty solid canvas for the nonsense to come. So as I'm doing this, I'm kind of getting the thought of I want to find maybe images of people kind of dancing or something that I can kind of put them on this background and then add some kind of watercolory bright colors or something. Well, I went through the magazine and none of the people images were just speaking to me, but I found this really cute ad for an animal shelter and talking about pet adoption. And I could not pass this little trio up of these really good boys and girls here. So I just decided we're going to do this single image with this trio of just the cutest little animals ever there. This magazine, a big part of it, more than half the magazine was an ad for like Atlanta area dentist, and it was just like a dentist registry, and then there was an ad for a bike event, and that was about it. And none of it was just really it wasn't really getting those creative juices going, if you will. But I saw these animals. I've had requests in the past to do just animal only pages. So here we go. It's going to work out. It's going to work out. And it kind of goes where I was wanting to go, adding some bright colors and things, because just the excitement and the just wonderment and, puppies and kittens' faces is always just something wonderful to behold, right? And if this is your first time tuning into me or my content, I'm a cat lady. So this is right up my alley. And I was a dog mom, up until a few years ago. He sadly passed away after a very long and spoiled life. But I currently have 4 cats, and I love them all, and they're equal kinds of crazy. But now I'm just going through my trusty old white craft paint, and just with my fingers and my fancy Post-it palette, just kind of going through and adding white in places of varying opacity, so we get this, I don't know, just adding on to that background there. I liked it. I was going with it. I also have a little orange cat now, like that one in there, Ollie. I think he's in the intro as well. Y'all, orange cats are so hyper. It's a whole different ball game. So let's take a look at how that looks with the paint on top of the words there. Kind of switch it up. I kind of started with words this time, right? I usually do words afterwards. And then I wasn't sure how I wanted to add the color like that was in my mind to the page. So I thought I would start with this old ink pad set that I have. And I'm just using some stencils that I have and some really, really old, probably 6 or 7 years old, Dollar Tree makeup sponges just to put them on there. I like to pull out different art supplies as often as I can, and I have time to fool with them, because I did that thing when I first started really getting into art journaling more than just like gluing and collaging and glue booking like different medias, that I would watch these videos and I would want to buy the things that they're using, and I really just end up going back to old trusty stuff. So I'm just trying to play around with things, use them up, and it's just fun to experiment, isn't it? And y'all do that, try to go out and buy like everything to try all the things. But I really liked where this was going. But here's where it kind of takes a turn, y'all. So I break out my ink sprays, and I just create a really crude cover for the little animals out of cardstock, and I just start going to town with these things. I'm trying to be careful because my desk is white. This is a flooring tiles that I put on top of my antique desk, which the top's ruined, and I just wanted to have these just very like sparse parts of color. And then when I picked up that blue one, I just started spraying like a mad woman. I don't know what possessed me, but I wanted it mostly to be the word, like the white word part showing through, and I sprayed the full out of the page. So now the words still do come through under the ink, but we no longer have that white and black background for sure. So we're gonna have to pivot. And just to get around the animals there, I'm just taking a corner of a pretty thick paper towel, and I'm spraying the ink on that and just smushing it around the little children there. So it just made it. Now the ink will lighten up as we go along, but it's still way more than I intended in the vision in my head. So we just have to pivot, and we have fun, and we'll learn something from it. And also, you can see I was wiping my desk down before that had a chance to dry, because if that dries, you can't dynamite that stuff up. But anyway, so this is the next day after that's fully dried, and I break out old trusty whiteout pen, and I'm just going to start with doing like I don't know what the patterns are called now. Like, I just learned that plaid is tartan and all this stuff. I'm doing like a diagonal check, I don't know. And then I started doing my little swirly doos that I like to just doodle on there, and just having a good old time with it. I'm trying to bring back some of that brightness that we had with the white background. And I finally used up my last old Dollar Tree whiteout pen. So I bought another 10-pack off of Amazon. I can't remember the name. They got little mustaches on them. And this is the first time I've cracked them open, and so far so good with them. I don't have to squeeze them near like a tenth of as hard as I was having to squeeze those Jot ones. So we'll see as it goes along, but it was awesome for this time. And then I'm taking a black marker, finer than a Sharpie, but not quite a fine point, and just going around and highlighting my little buddies there, just so they stand out from the page and all those doodles that I added. And it's just so funny to me because each journal that I have kind of has its own personality and like kind of rules in my head. And I typically stick to more mostly glue stuff in this one. And this page is going to be more mixed media that I would usually do in my other journal. But I went back through the magazine to start adding my words, our narrative to the story, and it was slim pickings. But I did find yourself here, that I'll be gluing there, and then underneath, a place where you belong. And then in the top right, it's going to say a story to share. And I really liked it because, again, this was from an adoption ad, the animals were. And that's what it's all about, right? Finding them a place where they belong. I mean, what is better than spoiling and giving an animal such a great life? And I think all of us that have pets and everything, we all have a story, when we got them, acclimating them to the house. I mean, everybody, you get around cat or dog people and everything, we could talk about our pets for hours, right? So I just love that, sweet, wonderful little vibe that it had. Now I'm just taking old trusty Sharpie, and I wanted to do kind of a really rough, I'm not worried about getting the line straight or nothing like that, kind of a diamond web check thing that I'm just kind of building up and going with it. And y'all, this was a new Sharpie, and it was just so fun to write with. Is that weird? Like that's the little things, right? And then anytime the lines intersect each other, I'm just going and adding a little dot or a jewel of whiteout on there, just again to give it some more visual interest. I'm just playing around. I'm just filling it out at this point because this page is not going where I thought it would, but as it builds up, I like it more and more and more. Just having a lot of fun with it. And now I'm going around and dotting around the Sharpie outline that I put around the words, just to give it that kind of marquee, sparkly effect. And then I was like, you know what? Shoot, I still got some pages with words on them. So I'm going to go through and cut out just these random geometric-y type shapes. I don't know, rhombuses and trapezoids and what have you. And I'm just going to cut them out. And some of them I'm going to leave the shape whole, and then some I'm gonna go in and like hollow out a shape in the middle and just kind of go with it and see. So I got some triangles, I got some, I don't know, it's been a long time since I've had geometry, y'all, but just different types of shapes. And I'm just kind of folding them half and cutting out the middles of some of them. And a couple of them, when I cut them out, they looked like petals, and I kind of started building off of that and laying them around the page just to layer up on top of that ink filled layer there. It was fun to spray though. Maybe that's what it was. I just couldn't stop myself. But I'm just placing everything around and trying to figure out the placement and how I want them. And I'm being very, very gentle with it because this particular magazine, the paper was really thin. So when I start gluing these down, I actually ended up having to kind of pat them, because normally, I would take my hand and rub over across of it to really pat it down and everything. But I just kind of had to do my finger and do a very gentle tapping motion just to not rip them, because they were trying to rip. But I really love just doing these shapes, and we'll definitely be doing this again as well. I just really enjoyed it. Maybe I should just have a whole journal where like everything but the focal images are just the word parts. I mean, that's like extra bonus images, right? So I'm just gluing them down there, and as I got them glued down to where they were kind of suctioned on the page, not kind of sitting there, I loved it more and more. This was something I used to do a lot when I first started, making art journals and things like that. I loved to just cut out random shapes out of like cereal box cardboard and all kinds of stuff to have that raised texture and everything, and I really miss doing that. So we're going to do that and glue them down and let them dry, and you'll see here in a few minutes I'm going to start kind of embellishing and adding outlines to them as well. I did also want to mention, so I did have a few questions lately from people asking me, why I use a lot of office products in my journals like Sharpies and whiteout, and I kind of tend to lean toward those type of supplies. Honestly, until I started watching like art journaling videos on YouTube a few years ago, and I went through that whole thing where like I said, I was trying to buy all these art supplies to try stuff out, and a lot of the stuff, like, I didn't realize that people were affiliates of these companies. Whole nother story, whole nother day. But before that, I used almost all like school and office supplies because I didn't have an art store anywhere near where I live. And I mean, I could get school supplies at Walmart, and then there was like a couple dollar stores, and that was the extent of it. So I was just so used to using Sharpies and highlighters and whiteout, things like that. And I just find I keep gravitating toward those things, and I'm just really comfortable with those. And it's a lot of things that everybody has access to, even if you're like me and you're out in Podunk, town, East Tennessee. So, but anyway, so I did Sharpie outlines and things on the pieces that I glued down. And now, because I can't leave well enough alone, I'm taking some of those soft pastel, like art crayons, and or they're like watercolor crayons. I don't know what you call them. And I'm just kind of being really gentle with it and just putting a little bit of color on there. I use like a raspberry, a blue, and then a bronze, just so they're not so stark white on there. And I just like the effect that it had, and I just like smushing color around, just embrace it, y'all. I could sit there and fiddle with the page for days. I could, if I didn't make myself stop. I'd just keep adding stuff. I mean, I really had to pull myself back because I was about to break out my black gel pen and start doodling. But yeah, and I'm just adding a few dots of whiteout just around the corners on those little shapes, just to make them look like they're sparkling a little bit. And I really liked how this turned out. It's just kind of weirded me out because this is a page that I would typically do in one of my other journals, this more mixed media type. But I had a ton of fun with it, and I love a good cute animal page, y'all. Because these little animals, I hope they're at their forever homes now, and their owners now have a story to share. I don't know, maybe one day I'll start sharing the stories of my cats that I have now. But here's the finished page. I hope y'all enjoyed going on this little journey with me. I know this is different than a lot of my other one magazine challenge type pages, but this was the last one in the last magazine harvest that I shared, which I'll put that in the iCard down below as well. But I thought it was a fitting finish to this little series of one magazine pages. So why not? Let's use the word pages. Let's just use whatever we want and have fun with it, and don't be afraid to try things and do it in your own way. You don't have to do what everybody else is doing. Just do what you want and have fun with it, because that's what it's about at the end of the day. It's not rules. It's not gatekeeping. You don't have to just copy what everybody else is doing. Just do what you want, y'all. Just do what you want. Also, adopt, don't shop. And yeah, again, I want to thank y'all so much for watching. Thank you so much from me and the kitties. I love that y'all embrace my intros with the cats. I shoot those for a different one for every video, because that is literally my life. I get something to drink, and then I say hi to the cats, and I start journaling. They're actually like right here beside me. I don't know If you can hear Eddie, he's kind of quiet for once. He likes to watch me edit, but yeah, thank y'all so much. I hope y'all are having a great day, doing something arty, creative, and fun. And I will see y'all in the next art video with some more fun and nonsense. Oh yeah. Bye guys.